Tonight, the 4 proposed constitution amendment bills all passed the first reading in the Niue Assembly yesterday, and Commonwealth Member of Parliament Olaf Jacobson reveals gaps in ambulance services of the Health Department. Good evening and welcome to our news bulletin. I'm Mersa Takala. Leading our news tonight, the 4 constitution amendment bills all passed the first reading in the Fono Ekepule yesterday. Premier Dalton Tangilangi initially asked the Fono to proceed to the second reading of the bills, but the Fono Ekepule referred the bills to the Constitution Committee. Esther Pavihi was at the Niue Assembly yesterday morning for the introduction of the bills by Premier Tangilangi. Here's more.
We're standing outside the Whalefono 2 here at Talamahanga on today, the Wednesday, March 27th. Inside behind us here at Whalefono 2 in the Fono Ekepule chambers, the members of the Assembly are listening to the first reading and the debate of the 4 proposed amendment bills to amend the Constitution. Premier Dalton Tangilangi has just finished his introduction of one of those bills. And he said in his closing remarks, let's make a difference for the future of this country. That was Premier Dalton Tangilangi just in chambers right now, earlier, as he introduced the first amendment bill to the Constitution, amending the title of the head of government from Premier to Prime Minister. The second bill that he will introduce in due course is to amend the total number of cabinet from 4 to 6. The third amendment bill is to extend the term of Parliament or the term of the new Assembly from 3 years to 4 years. And the final bill, or the fourth amendment to the Constitution, is to make changes in reference to the name of the Audit Office of New Zealand. Just as before we came out, the chair of the Constitution Review Committee, Honourable Billy Talangi, also spoke in support of the proposed amendments, and his words were in Wangahau Niue, saying that the purpose and the objective of the Constitution Review Committee is to ensure that the public is widely engaged in the process of amending the Constitution. All 4 amendment bills passed the first reading by 3 p.m. yesterday. Members of the Fono Ekepule engaged in some lively debate in the first reading of the amendment bill to change the title of the head of government from Premier to Prime Minister. But the vote to pass the first reading was unanimous. The second bill, to increase the members of Cabinet from 4 to 6, 3 members did not support the bill. Common Role members Honourable Olaf Jacobson and Emani Fogosi Manavalui, and also the member from Toi, Dion Taufitu. On the third bill, to expand the term of the new Assembly from 3 to 4 years, 4 members did not support the bill. Common Role MPs Jacobson and Fogosi Manavalui, member from Toi, Dion Taufitu, and also the member from Alofi North, Tutuli Haka. The Assembly unanimously supported the 4th amendment to change the name of the Audit Office of New Zealand. The 4 bills were referred to the Constitution Review Committee to tidy up on some of the language, given the constitutional requirement that all bills must be presented in both Wangahau Niue and English. After the second reading, the bills will be taken to the public through consultations and meetings before a referendum vote, where the people will vote on the proposed amendments. Depending on the outcome of the public referendum, the bills will then be returned after 13 weeks to the Fono Ekepule for the third and final reading.
Commonwealth Member of Parliament Honourable Olaf Jacobson, whose husband Patrick Jacobson passed away 2 weeks ago, yesterday in the Fono Ekepule extended her gratitude and that of her family for the assistance provided by the Health Department and the government. Jacobson also revealed gaps in the ambulance services of the Health Department, highlighting 2 cases where the ambulance driver was not available. BCN News extends our condolences to the Jacobson family on the passing of Patrick Jacobson, affectionately known to many as Fa'o. Here's Esther Pavihi with more.
Honourable Olaf Jacobson thanked the government for the medical evacuation flight called to take her husband to New Zealand. Unfortunately, he passed before they arrived into New Zealand. Honourable Jacobson also informed the House and called on the Minister for Health to help address some of the issues with the services provided by the hospital. She explained that on the day her husband needed to get to the Newfall Hospital, there was no ambulance driver available. 2 nurses had to use one of the department vehicles to transport her husband to the hospital.
BCN News reached out to Acting Director of Health, Peter Fitaui, who said that the Health Department regrets the actions of their ambulance driver and apologised to the family for the events of that day when the ambulance driver was not at the hospital. Jacobson informed the Whanokepule that sadly, a similar incident happened a week after her husband passed when his brother called the hospital requesting an ambulance to take him to the hospital. The ambulance was late to respond and the man passed away in his home. Peter Fitaui told BCN News that the ambulance driver involved is aware of the impacts of his actions and is remorseful for what happened. The ambulance driver was placed under disciplinary action and is undergoing performance management. Acting Director of Health, Peter Fitaui, said that the department currently has 6 ambulance drivers on staff. He told BCN News that the department management is working with the drivers to improve the ambulance service of the health department.
Last week, BCN News had the privilege of speaking to Judge Wilson Isaac as it was his final time to be in Niue, presiding as a judge of the Niue High Court since 2007. With 17 years of experience serving in the Niue High Court, Judge Isaac reflects on the changes he has witnessed over the years.
The way the court operated then was that we had a lot more criminal cases, not so many civil cases, but also a lot of land cases. Today we have a lot less criminal cases, and the land cases are still there before us. So, at the moment we're probably dealing with maybe 95% at least land cases, 5% criminal and civil. Back in 2007, the proportions were a lot different.
Over the years, the Niue High Court sittings have not had a consistent venue. The sittings have taken place at the Millennium Hall of the Ecclesia Niue, the Public Service Conference Room, and also the Niue Golf and Sports Club. Judge Isaac says that it is not about the location, but rather providing access to justice for the people and providing them with a comfortable space. He reflects here on the changing legal landscape as the island marks 50 years of self-government.
Prior to independence, Niue were governed by the Cook Islands Act. So, one big thing is that you're now governed by all your own rules and regulations. And those rules and regulations should be tailored to suit the Niuean situation. And maybe, in terms of looking forward, there needs to be work done on the legislation to make them more apt to today's society. And I say that because the Land Act is the Niue Act is 1966, hasn't been changed. The Land Act is 1969, the Amendment Act is 1968. So, those long time ago.
Judge Wilson Isaac also retired as the chairperson of the Maori Tribunal and as the chief judge of the Maori Land Court. He retired from that role in April of last year. He will continue to work as a judge in New Zealand for the next year, he says, and he would also like to be a farmer as well. He told BCN News that while he may not be a judge of the Niue High Court, he will still be visiting Niue from time to time.
Just simply to wish Niue and all Niueans all the very best for their 50th anniversary. I'm sure you will do yourselves proud and your island proud.
Judge Wilson Isaac left the island on Friday last week.
According to the department's recently released annual report from July 1st, 2022 to June 30th, 2023, identified several challenges including staff shortage and resource limitations. Here's more on this story. The report states the department started with 12 nurses in the beginning of this fiscal year, but dropped to 6 by January 2023. The nurses work 7 days a week to cover the hospital's 3 shifts. The health department has a total workforce of 61 staff. This includes 16 administration staff, 12 clinical staff, 6 dental, 8 aged care facility, and 5 staff in the public health division. Also from the report, the total number of medical evacuations or medevacs for this period was 8. 6 females and 2 males were evacuated during this period. Former Director of Health and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Eddie Akaola, who also wrote the report, says financial and workforce assistance are required from health donors and philanthropic organizations from overseas are always sought after. He added in-country partnerships between government and private sector are also crucial for the health services to bring about change, improvement, and economic development. An estimated cost of each Medevac is about $70,000, with the total cost spent on 8 Medevac last year was about $560,000. The Health Department's annual report for 2022 to 2023 was tabled at the Fono Ekepule last week by Minister of Health Honorable Sonia Talangi. A family in Liku got the shock of their lives yesterday afternoon when a mini twister brought their 70-year-old tawa tree down. BCN News visited Sione Tasi Pulehetoa says his family is very grateful that no one got hurt in the process.
About 3 p.m. yesterday, I look at the sky, it's overcast, and it looks like it's going to rain soon. About 3:15, the rain starts to fall down. Unusual that there were very big drops for the first 5 minutes. Then later, rain increases and becomes heavy. And later on, picked up the wind, and it was more like a squall type of weather. Huh? And it was raining, windy during that short period.
He said he'd witnessed the tree going down from inside his house.
The northern part of this tree fell down that way, and just a few seconds later, the southern part falls that way. And I said, oh, looks like a twister or something like that. And about 4 p.m., the rain is easing.
Pulehetoa said he didn't panic, but rather was more curious on what was happening.
Start to think about what's this? Is there anything wrong? But I didn't panic. I know these are things that just happened without your expectation.
While tabling the Health Department's annual report for 2022 to 2023 at the Fono Ekepule last week, Minister of Health, Honorable Sonia Talangi, has encouraged everyone to take care of their health. Honorable Talangi highlighted a recent Lance report on global obesity rates that has placed Niue on the top 10 fattest countries in the world. According to the study, Niue women were placed on the 7th spot and Niue men were on the 5th spot.
And while it highlights the achievements, challenges and recommendations for the department, I bring this to the attention of Assembly because we all, as a people, need to take better responsibility for our own health, especially as our women are being rated as 7th most obese in the world and our men the 5th most obese in the world. These statistics were based on evidence from our hospital. The hospital, our doctors and nurses cannot cure everything. We cannot prevent everything. But it's not only NCDs. I am grateful for and applaud our public health team for the strong health promotions, regular checks for our schools, and screening programs we have for things such as cancer, women's health, men's health, and even children's health. Please continue to look out for each other. Encourage and support those that don't look or feel well.
Niue's head of public health, Griselda Mokoia, in response to this report and on combating obesity on the island, states they have been out in the community promoting healthy food, nutrition, physical activity, tobacco and alcohol awareness, as these were the risk factors for NCDs to include obesity. She said they started off well, but then over time people got tired of them. They also lost momentum because the majority of the initiatives were donor-driven. Once the funds finished, the programs also lapsed. The study released by Lancet shows that in 2022, more than 1 billion people in the world are now living with obesity. Worldwide obesity among adults has more than doubled since 1990 and has quadrupled amongst children from ages 5 to 19 years of age. A consultation on the review of Niue's 2016 trade policy framework is currently underway with representatives from the Niuean government and local industry representatives. A team from the Strengthening Pacific Inter-Regional and International Trade or SPIRIT project funded by the European Union and managed by the Pacific Islands Forum Secretariat, is leading the review with 2 consultants from Ernst & Young in Australia. Consultant and Ernst & Young Senior Manager Nicola Rowan says during their consultation so far this week, they found that many of the stakeholders believe the 2016 trade policy framework had the right objectives and strategic direction, focusing on themes such as national resilience and sustainable development. Issues that have emerged during the consultation are on labour mobility, skilled workforce, and trade-related infrastructure.
Consultations so far have been fantastic. We've met with a number of both public and private representatives. A lot of key themes emerging. So with the 2016 framework, that was sort of the main policy decision to drive economic development and regional integration for Niue. That position and vision still stands, but what we're seeing is some key themes emerging around issues with labour mobility, skilled workforce, and trade-related infrastructure being a critical component. So there's a lot of key themes that are emerging from our interviews.
Rowan says after the consultation, they will be compiling a report on recommendations and implementation plans for the Niue government to consider.
Our next steps from here, once we conclude our stakeholder consultation, we will be developing a report that will have a series of recommendations for the Niuean government to consider. Key component of that will also be an implementation plan. So not just putting the recommendations out there, but mapping a clear pathway forward for how to actually make those be realised and come to life. We'll be running a national validation workshop with the Niuean government. That'll be held virtually just to test our thinking and making sure that our findings are aligned with their views. And that'll be a standalone document that the Niuean government can then use to implement the recommendations as they move forward.
Niue Chamber of Commerce CEO Catherine Papani has welcomed the review of the 2016 Trade Policy Framework. Papani says NCOC hopes the review will take into account the changes in the trade environment that Niue operates in since 2016 and provide businesses in the export and import sector some support and assistance to further develop and grow their businesses. She added whilst a trade policy framework should also incentivize foreign investors, it should also ensure that our locally owned businesses must also receive similar incentives, example tax incentives. According to a post from renowned artist Mark Cross on a Community Niue Island Facebook page, he is quoted in response to the review saying, "For those who have for 30 years been trying to participate in regional trade, we know this is a total waste of time and money without any regional air links passing through Niue. And we don't have any industry representatives that have the slightest clue." The Trade Policy Framework Review will ensure that Niue's trade policy remains fit for purpose, reflecting the current priorities of the Niuean government in the trade space and addressing the key international and trading developments since 2016. The Tō Niue Ma'anoia, or Niue Warriors for the Future group, have been on the go since they arrived in New Zealand last week. While they have been warmly welcomed into New Zealand with various activities such as Motat and the primary schools hosting them with a Fiafia night, their biggest highlight of the week was their performance at the Polyfest last Saturday.
Ngati Otara Marae has been the group's home for the past week while in New Zealand. In the following days after their arrival, they were warmly welcomed by the free schools in Auckland who have a Niuean bilingual unit, including Favona, Rosebank and Rowendale Primary School. Parents, friends and families of the schools gathered at Rowendale Primary School for the Fiafia concert night to welcome Niue Primary School. It was the first time in history for all free schools to join together for such an event, says Principal Carl Vassau of Rowendale Primary School. All the money raised that evening was donated to Niue Primary School, which was approximately $3,000 raised. The group also enjoyed activities such as rock climbing and scooter riding with Tony Edwards and the Blue Light team. The biggest highlight was their performance at Polyfest that took place last Saturday. It was a beautiful performance watched by thousands who gathered at the Niue stage. Each child introduced themselves, where they came from and who their parents were. The children also looked very smart, beautiful and handsome in their blue and yellow cultural outfits. It was a momentous occasion for the group, especially the children, to showcase the Niue culture and language and share with the people abroad the Niue Warriors for the future. On Sunday, they visited the Niue Church congregation in Otahuhu, led by Reverend Inga Mokale. Teachers and parents of the group also participated in the Pacific Media Network 531 PI radio show on Monday to reflect on the trip. And recently, the Auckland Niue Rugby League team hosted the children as means of encouraging our future Niue Warriors for a pathway in rugby league. The group will return this Friday. Acknowledgements to Natasha Toyano Tovaka, PMN, Fama Viliamu and Auckland Niue Rugby League for the photos used in this story.
And since a long Easter weekend on the Rock, the president of the Ecclesia Niue, Reverend Navy Salatielu, wishes God's blessing be with us all as we celebrate and remember the love of Jesus Christ. And a reminder that the Sunday School rally will take place at the Millennium Hall this Saturday. BCN wishes everyone a safe and happy Easter. And that's our news tonight. Join us next Tuesday for a Wangahau Niue Bulletin. Until then, good evening.